and I'll be chairing the meeting today.
This meeting is being recorded.
Thank you. I'll ask anyone with a mobile phone to please make sure that it's turned off for the duration of the meeting. There being a quorum present, I declare the meeting to be properly constituted and declare the meeting open. Now I'm going to introduce our fellow directors and some of the executive who are with us today, either in person or on the screen. So on screen we have retired Brigadier General Stephen Cheney. We have Dr. Paul Spenson, and someone who's well known to all of you, Dr. Bob. We also have Simon Moore, Carl Dennis, and I'd like to warmly introduce Billy Blackburn to you, our new CEO and Managing Director. And also right at the end over there, someone who is well known to you is our CFO, Jason Lewis. We also have in attendance Sandra McIntosh from Acclaim Australia, and she's representing the company secretary. Our auditors and share registry are here as well. And so we have Matthew Leaversley of Grant Thornton, the company's auditor, and also Atomic, who's represented by Jordan Foster, who will be the returning officer. I remind everyone to register with Atomic, and if you have not, please do so now. The agenda for the meeting today is we'll go through the formal business of the meeting, and then I'm going to ask Billy to address the meeting. In terms of voting, all resolutions will be voted by way of a poll today, and will be conducted after all resolutions have been put to the meeting. When you registered at the attendance desk this morning, you should have received a voting card from Atomic. Members holding a yellow card can vote and speak at the meeting. Members holding a blue card are not eligible to vote but can speak at the meeting. And visitors holding a red card are not eligible to vote or speak at the meeting. If there is anyone present who is eligible to vote but has not received a yellow card, please see the representative of Atomic at the registration desk now. I would like to highlight that where undirected proxies have been given in favour of the chair, I will be voting these proxies in favour of all resolutions being put to the meeting today. As provided for in our Constitution, I have determined to conduct a poll on each of the resolutions being put to shareholders. The poll will be held at the end of the meeting with the results of those polls announced to the ASX as soon as practical thereafter. Proxy votes. After discussion of each resolution, the proxy votes in place will be advised for each resolution. When the time comes for questions, I suggest we work through these in an orderly manner. Everyone with a question or comment will be accorded a reasonable opportunity to be heard. The notice of meeting was made available to all registered members on the 14th of October 2022, and with your agreement, I will take it as read. In terms of voting exclusions and prohibitions, all resolutions except resolutions 1 and 4 to 10 are subject to a number of voting exclusions, which are detailed in the notice of meeting, should anyone wish to review them. These exclusions will be dealt with as we work through the poll. So in terms of the ordinary business, this meeting has been called for the purpose of considering, and if thought fit, passing the resolutions as detailed in the notice of meeting. As previously stated, all resolutions today will be decided by poll. So now I'll move to the financial statements and reports. The first item of business is to receive and consider the annual financial report of the company for the financial year ended 30 June 2022, together with the declaration of directors, the directors' report, the remuneration report, and the auditor's report. Are there any questions or comments in relation to the financial statements and report?
I've got a couple of questions about the annual report, particularly the director's declaration that the company is a going concern. In the explanatory memorandum, it details 5 reasons or 5 bases why the directors believe that it is a going concern. At 1.5 cents a share, I think every shareholder is probably underwater on their investment, and that's a real issue with me, obviously. There's no actual evidence of furniture material to underpin those 5 issues or 5 matters that directors raise, such as where they believe that the company is going concern. And I won't go through them in detail, but for example, one of them is Colton's loan. It says that the board expects that Colton's might extend it or convert it into equity, etc. But there's no evidence to in the accounts to underpin that. And same with most of the other issues. It says that the company would have the ability to raise additional equity funding. But my question is to who would fund that? When the cash flow is like it is, shares at 1.5%, there's clearly no support in the marketplace to support a capital raising. I was wondering if the board can provide us with some understanding as to why you come to that decision.
So the first thing that we do, and thank you for the question, the first thing that we do is we will go through a forecast of where we think the revenue and the customer is going to come from, and that is a detailed process. And in fact, in August, we were in REA and we sat down for 2 days with the team, going through exactly that forecast and where it's coming from, which customers, how much product, all those sorts of things. The second thing is that is then presented to the auditors, and the auditors work through it as well. Yes, we do have the convertible note, and I will say that we are in discussions with Collington on the convertible note in the manner that we described. The third thing is we have the Alterna credit line, and a little bit later on I'm going to get Jason to speak and he's going to give you an update on that. But that capacity is between 3 and 5 million US. So when you take all of those together, we were actually comfortable that we were a going concern.
I guess for me, the quarterly statement doesn't really support going concern basis. There was, I think, $1.2 million of failed funding. That's all debt. And the inventory and debtors funding, that's based on sales. If you're not getting sales, then those facilities won't be available.
Yeah, so
you've got the funding facilities if we're incurring more debt.
Yep. So in the 4C, we actually indicated that we were seeing a change in the market. And so what I can say to you is that October has been a much stronger month, with the result that the Alterna eligibility now is much higher. And as I said, I'll ask Jason in due course to give you some indications of exactly where we sit there. Any other questions? So, ladies and gentlemen, if there are no further questions or comments on the accounts and the reports for the year ended 30 June 2022, I will declare them as received and considered. We'll now move to the resolutions on which shareholders, representatives and attorneys of shareholders and proxy holders are being asked to vote. Resolution 1 relates to the adoption of the remuneration report. Now, I'm not sure whether everybody else is going to be able to see some of those numbers. So for those of you who are challenged like I am, so I've got my glasses on, in terms of resolution 1, so 4, we have, and I'm not going to read out every single number if everybody's comfortable with that, but we have 155,780,000 shares, so that's 81%, and against is 36,032,000. There are still those that are open, and so for the total shares that are being voted is 192 million. Is everybody okay with that? Are there any questions or comments in relation to resolution 1? Thank you. So now we'll move on to resolution 2, and that relates to the re-election of Simon Moore. In terms of the voting, so we have 88.5% for, 11% against, so that's 245,752,000 shares, and we have against 30,586,000 shares. Are there any questions in relation to resolution 2? We'll now move on to the next resolution. Resolution 3 relates to the re-election of Dr. Robert Brookins. The results here is 272,900,000, and so that is 98%. Unless anybody is really interested, I'm going to not refer to the no votes on that one. Are there any questions or comments in relation to that resolution? Resolution 4 relates to the grant of SARs, so share appreciation rights, to a related party, so that's Dr. Robert Brookins, and that's for the financial year ending 30 June 2022. The results are 61.7% for and 37.85% against. So that's 170,513,000 as against 104,616,000. Are there any questions or comments in relation to that resolution?
I have one question. Forgive me, I haven't done another one, but
yep.
Can you perhaps just provide a little bit more meat on the bones around the difference between 2022 appreciation rate and the 2023 appreciation rate?
Yeah. So
what the best for conditions are?
Yep, I can do that for you. So what we do each year is when we go through and look at the particular SARs, and in particular for 2022, we look at the base salary, how much STI is there, and how much LTI. So across 100, for someone like Bob, 50% is in base salary, 15% is a target STI, and then we have a target SAR plan. Now, the vesting criteria of that, and I don't have the numbers quite to hand, so I'm going to look at my CFO. But basically, what we do is we put a floor in terms of what minimum share price needs to occur before any vesting happens, and then it's on a sliding scale based on the share price after 3 years. And so that share price for 2022 will be in the order of 9.5 cents. I'm thinking, yep, 9.5 cents is the minimum vesting.
Okay.
And then for 23, it's a little bit higher than that again. So what we've done is we've set the share price a little bit higher.
Before any of them vest.
Before any of them vest. And then there's a vesting schedule across that goes through. Are there any other questions? All right, we'll now move on to the next resolution, which is the grant of the share appreciation rights to Dr. Brookins for the year ended 30 June 2023. Now, the one comment I will make here is that because the share price has actually, and this is an addition to your question, because the share price had fallen, what we did was we based the number of SARs not leveraging the share price, but we took it back to the FY21 number of SARs, and they've only got that much. So when I said 35% had been allocated, if you did the numbers again, it would be closer to sort of 15%, because we didn't want to leverage it up through the share price. Okay. The results of the proxy voting are as shown. So it's 81.67%, 66% against 17.89. So that's 225,600,000 shares against 49,440,000. Are there any other questions or comments in relation to Resolution 5? Thank you. We'll move on to Resolution 6. Now, this relates to the award of SARs for our new CEO, Billy Blackburn. And this is for the year ended 30 June 2023. So it's 236,100,000 shares for, which is 84.9%. Against is 40,765,000 at 14.66%. Are there any questions or comments in relation to Resolution 6? Thank you. We'll now move on to the next resolution. Resolution 7 relates to grant of additional share appreciation rights to Billy Blackburn, and this was a grant on joining. The results of the proxy voting are as shown on the slide, which is 84.29%, which is 225,876,000. Against is 40,853,000, which is 15.24%. Are there any questions or comments in relation to Resolution 7? Thank you. We'll now move on to Resolution 8. Resolution 8 relates to the approval of the Employee Securities Incentive Plan. The results of the proxy voting are 87.91% against 6.26%. Sorry, I'm being thrown off by the X's in there, Sajani. So it's 171,427,000. Against is $215,000. Are there any questions or comments in relation to the resolution? So we'll move on to the next resolution. Resolution 9 relates to the issue of shares to Mr. Simon Moore as non-exec director as part of his director's fees. The results of the proxy voting are 165,542,000. Against is 32,104,000. That's 83% versus 16%. Are there any questions or comments in relation to the resolution? So we'll now move to the next resolution, and this relates to the grant of shares to myself. I'm therefore going to ask my fellow director, Simon Moore, to chair this item of business.
Thank you, Roisin. Resolution number 10, the issue of shares to non-executive director chair, Roisin Garner, that's in lieu of board fees, or actually board fees. The proposition has been put to the vote, and you have 87.95% in favour, 11.6% against, and 0.45% open on that resolution.
Unless there's any comments or questions.
Any questions on that?
Thank you, Simon. So we'll now move on to the next resolution, which is Resolution 11, and these relate to amendments to the Constitution as a result of changes to the Corporations Law. The results of the proxy voting are 94.71% for, 4.84% against. This is 262,800,000 as against 13.4 million. The one thing I will say about this is we would like to be able to have more shareholders participate in the AGM. At the moment, our constitution restricts us to having it in person. We can record it, but this will enable us to have hybrid meetings where we will have it physically, and also we can have people online, and people online can ask the questions. So that's the main reason behind it.
Actually, I understand that, I agree with that. The way I read the proposed amendment is that it gives the board or any subsequent board the ability to not hold physical meetings and just hold virtual meetings. Is that?
Well, that would be the case if you're in the pandemic and you've got a health order where you can't, right? So it's to cover those sorts of situations as opposed to, you know, the shareholders will expect us to hold physical meetings, and every board would be prepared to have a physical meeting based on my understanding. But, you know, during COVID, we had to get that thing from ASIC where we could hold the meetings virtually. And so this allows us to do, you know, both.
Right. But in the way I read the proposed amendment, it gives the ability of the board in the future to abandon physical meetings, even outside things like COVID or whatever. I would have thought that it would have been worded such as to have a carve out in the event of COVID situations.
Yeah, so now I'm going to flip into one of my other roles here. So as you know, I'm chairman of the board of tax, and so I'm dealing with Commonwealth legislation all the time around the tax legislation. when they bring these sorts of things in, we can never forecast what may be the future, and so they try and draft it as broadly. What we've done is really picked up where the corporations law is allowing us to operate. But, you know, I say to you, we will always hold one where we can, you know, subject to a health order, we will always have a physical one. Any other questions, comments? All right, well with that, we'll move on to the next resolution, which is the approval in relation to the 10% placement facility. The results are 233.8 million against 41.38 million. That's about 84% versus 15% in round terms. Are there any comments or questions in relation to that matter? All right, so I note that we've had no shareholder questions registered prior to the meeting. So that now concludes the formal business of the meeting. As there are no items of general business of which notice has been received, we'll now move to the conducting of the poll on all resolutions. And I'll hand over to Jordan. Is Jordan here? We'll just get Jordan to come in. He'll manage the process of the poll. Thanks, Jordan. If you want to manage the poll, please. When the voting has been collated, the results will be declared on each resolution and released on the announcements platform of the ASX. So with that, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That concludes the formal part of the meeting, and I hereby declare the meeting closed. Thank you for your attendance and interest. And we look forward to your continued support. So with that, normally I'd stand here and sort of do a nice introductory piece. But given that we have our new CEO here, I thought you would far prefer to hear from Billy. And so Billy's going to take us through a presentation. Jason's got a couple of slides at the end of that presentation. I'm then going to ask an unfair question to Billy about how he's working with Jason and Bob, so you can hear that. And then we will open up to questions. And so I'll take the questions and I'll get the appropriate person to answer for us. So with that, welcome, Billy. It's great to have you here. And over to you. Thank you.
Don't think we need a mic. John, you're driving, right? Okay. Well, good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming. I think I met most of you on the way in here. Hi, James. Most of you don't know me, but I speak very plainly, and please interrupt me anywhere with questions. Happy to have a conversation. Really just want to share some of the plan, observations, and what I'm seeing so far. Only 10 weeks in here, so it's really new. Plan would be give it more time and probably come back in the spring for another visit. So love to see folks then again. If we could go to the next slide, please. Next. So we put it in my new words here, but the company overview. One of the things I want to drive the message home today is early when I got here, I saw the need for a transition and for the identity of the business to move away from being a specialty chemical business into more of a performance materials business. And I'm going to do my best, attempt to explain what that means today, because that is how we're going to expedite the results for this business. So we have to know who we are and how we're going to get where we're going to do that. My background is in the chemical industry and selling, fine chemical specialty materials on specifications. So having something that you can take off the shelf and sell to a customer in volume. Alexium's different. We have a very technical offering, and there's a challenge of how you get that into the channels for the customer. So we're going to be really focused on getting great at doing that. So now, performance materials company leveraging proprietary technical innovations. So what I've seen since I've been here is we have a nice product suite. We have some established products. We have some new ones in the queue coming out. And what we're going to have to do over the short term to deliver financial success and to be cash positive is to take all that sunk knowledge, that investment that's happened over time, leverage that for the short term success, and then run a parallel path to delivering the new products which bring us into real growth beyond that. So the first milestone is for this company to be profitable, healthy, have a good valuation. To do that, we're going to move into performance materials away from just selling chemistry. So I'll expand on that as we go. We have 25 global patent applications. That's quite a bit of intellectual property to leverage. And it's all about getting that commercialized. And really, that's why I'm here. Phase change materials, PCM as we say, lots of alphabet soup in this business, by the way. But PCM is really at the core of this business and really plays well in the bedding space where we're really concentrated right now. So we'll deliver success in the bedding and PCM space and then diversify from there. We can go to the next slide, John. I won't linger here. You guys know Dr. Bob, you know Jason, and as Roisin said, she's going to corner me at the end of the meeting. So I'll speak to the relationship with those guys so far. Just a little bit about myself. I'm an entrepreneur. I've worked in as an executive in larger businesses. And I was not looking to make a change. I was actually recruited into Alexium. So I want you all to know that I took a risk to come here, and I did it for a couple of reasons that are core to me. But when I was approached by the board about coming on, wasn't looking. I was actually 2 years into a project, turning another business around. We were having nice success there. Had a culture change in that business, and things were going well. But I've been at a point in my career where I've started a business, grown a business, sold a business, been recruited in to run other businesses. And I'm at a point now where I want to do things that are meaningful and can deliver results. So the more we went through the discussion and they talked to me about coming on board, and the more I learned about the team at Alexium and the products, the more and more intriguing it became for me. And I saw it as really a challenge and an opportunity to come on and make a big difference. So Make the Change came over, and I joined on September 1st. But again, I welcome any of you to call me, reach out to me at any time. If you want to get to know me better or ask about my background or what the plans are for the business, as you get to know me, I'll ask you for that grace up front. But as you get to know me, you'll realize I'm a very open book, and I'll speak very plainly and straight to you. So that's my commitment. Next. So really, in America, we say meat and potatoes. This is the meat and potatoes of the message I want to get across to you guys today. 3-year plan, and we're really looking short term right now because we have to deliver success short term. So Ian, your questions were spot on, and we're very well aligned with what we have to do in the short term to increase shareholder value. All right, so I take a very pragmatic approach to business, and we're going to be getting back to some serious fundamentals here, all right? But to do that, we have to have something material to take to the market, something of value, something that people need and want. And that's what I'm very confident about, is we actually do have that now. The challenge now is to get back to fundamental implementation, selling, and actually getting good at commercializing. A lot of people think commercializing means just going out and selling something and getting into commercial channels. For us, commercializing is also a very technical piece of product development where we actually get into the labs, get into the product development space for the customer and show them how to apply our technologies in their products. So if I step back to the overview, really the change here is to go from the chemical sales to a performance materials company. So that's delivering value to the customer by showing them how to use our product and how to upsell and value up their product. So really the change in nomenclature and the narrative at Alexium is we're now going to go into a phase. We're very aware that, we don't make these branded products that go out in space. And, if you think of a computer that has the Intel inside, which is everywhere, all over the world, right? And that brand, Intel inside, is on every mark. That's not necessarily what plays well for Alexium, right? We're actually more behind the veil, behind the screen. So we don't make the final product that the customer sells. We make the final product that the customer sells better. And the better we are at implementing that and growing sales that way, the faster to financial success and the bigger the market. If we get into the branding, especially in the bedding space, I've learned quickly in this business, there's a lot of brand conflict and channel conflict in there where these customers are all trying to make their mark and make similar claims. They talk about comfort, they talk about temperature and moisture and all these things. And if we put our name on all those things, they're going to start arguing over exclusivity and shrinking the market. So we got to go wider, right? So we have to stay behind the veil, get good at delivering technical solutions off of the product platforms, and then grow a much bigger addressable market. That's bedding first. So to do this, first we got to deliver cash positive results in the near term, and we're going to focus our efforts on delivering revenue from PCM sales. And the key here I want to differentiate is traditional mattresses. Alexium is very concentrated in traditional mattresses. Those of you that know us well and you know who that U.S. player is, I won't say the name here, but we have a lot of business and a lot of allegiance with a big player in the U.S. market that's been dominant in what we call traditional, spring and textile built mattresses. So, first, I'll use the food analogy. We have to eat what's on our plate before we go back for a second. So first, we got to deliver value by saturating that customer that dominates that space and other smaller players that are along that space that we're applying PCM to their products. In parallel to that, and this is how we're going to go from being so concentrated in one space to diversifying, and that's one of the things that we have to do strategically is get out of such a concentration in bedding and move into adjacent markets. But first, we have to deliver success in that concentration and then de-risk as we go. So in parallel to the first one, we're now going to start moving our PCM sales into non-traditional mattresses. So what are non-traditional mattresses? And typically what's selling at a higher price point where we play well? Foam. So, and I've been in some of the factories recently that make the foam mattresses, and it's remarkable. It's like pulling back the curtain on Oz and the Wizard of Oz. The thing that you behold when you go in these factories is highly automated, huge manufacturing assets, huge capital growth, speed to market. I was in a factory in Tennessee last week, and what I saw was a foam mattress producer that could probably launch a new product line in less than 30 days. And that's just unheard of in this space. So their speed is quick, and they can apply our products to that quickly, which can pull us through the market. So we're now going to move from just being heavy into the traditional piece, spring and textile, into foam. So the route from concentration there starts first, market concentration starts with customer diversification. So we'll diversify the customers where we're concentrated, and then I'll expand as we go here on how we're going to diversify our markets for growth beyond that. But, I really believe if we're fundamental and we get good at getting the customers to pull our products through and showing them how to apply them, will deliver cash positive really in the space where we are right now while we run the parallel path of diversifying. So next, to support this, we're implementing a commercial strategy that's revised. It moves us away from the brands into the performance materials. And we're going to do that on our platforms with thermal management, heat, temperature, and humidity. And really, when you pair those together, that's comfort. So the bedding space is all about comfort and their claims for that. And we have to get good at aligning ourselves with their marketing claims and then giving them really defensible technologies and results that support those claims so that they can get higher sales. So again, integrating technical efforts into those performance materials speeds us up, pulls us into the market quicker. You said it earlier, we have a long sales process, and so we're looking at any way we can to expedite that, to get these products out faster. I'm a contract guy, commercial guy, always doing contracts in my businesses, and it's a good way of shoring up the relationship. Contracts are kind of like it's a bad analogy, but it's like a loaded gun. You need them when things go sideways to spell out the terms and keep everybody honest. It's just like that loaded gun. You want the loaded gun, you don't want to ever have to use it. But it's better to have it, not need it, than to need it and not have it, right? So we're driving contracts into the business to shore up the terms, to really spell out deliverables and to hold customers accountable. There's some old school sentiments that the customer's always right. I don't think so. They're not always right, but it's how you tell them when they're wrong, right? And you got to be careful with that. But customers can be wrong, and you have to hold them accountable, because in our business, we sink a lot of resources into development, and you can get strung along and left at the altar. So, when you start the process with contract terms and holding people to their covenants, you get a better result, better accountability out of the customer. So we'll be driving contracts into the business. Plus, the contracts shore up the valuation of the company, makes it more viable. When people can see and actually touch and see the terms and feel what we're growing and what we have in the pipe. So, okay, hot button for Alexium in the past, FR. The company really started to cut its teeth in FR in the past. Now we're going to work across U.S. military branches. Then we'll move to foreign militaries. We have a new breakthrough in FR Nitro that I'll talk about today, and that's in uniforms. The approach there will be two-pronged. We'll work with the government buyers to specify our FR into their bids, because they have to have public bids for anti-competition. So we'll make sure they're speccing it in so that the private entities that bid those offerings have us basically written in as well. So the parallel paths will be you run the public sector to get specced in, go through all the approvals with the Fed and the agencies. And then we work with the private groups to make sure they test our product, they know how to get it in to their finished goods for the uniforms, and that bookends the sales strategy for getting our FR into military uniforms. And that's been a long-going project for this company. So it's been a slow slog, but we've had a nice breakthrough. I'll speak to that here shortly. And then while we execute those above priorities, the R&D group is going to continue to innovate and push new products out there. And we have some innovations now that are just coming off of the, I call it the bench in the lab, but are ready to go commercial. And with me coming on and Dr. Brookins moving to focus on the technology piece, I didn't come in here to necessarily come in and retool everything and change everything that was broken. It was more additive. It was me to come in and run the commercial process and drive the general management of the company. That now frees up Dr. Brookins to really innovate, and he's extremely strong there. I have a lot of confidence in what he's doing, and I like what I've seen. So now he can focus in those areas while we drive, the daily business and deliver sales that drive the share value up and get us cash positive, whilst he also runs innovation in a parallel path. But our focus, again, on the priority is at the top of this list, and that's to deliver cash positive results by really commercializing what's already been invested in Alexium. Next, please. So this is critical, and this is really a tide change geopolitically in countries, environment. Everybody knows what's going on with global warming and climate change. Also, there's a lot of social unrest in the world right now. And you hear it on the news every day, governance and corruption and fraud and all these things that can plague a business and really crater its value and its brand and reputation. So we really are committed to ESG. I'm born out of environmental and recycling and high purity businesses that were core to renewable and preservation. So it's really in my DNA. But we are committed. We're going to establish baselines and metrics and ways of measuring our performance against our ESG commitment going forward. We want everybody to know that we are committed to doing the right thing every time. So, that'll come in the form for environmental waste reduction. We'll put out conservation metrics. That can be things like our carbon footprint, how we'll take approaches to reduce it, not increase it. Put out products that are environmentally friendly, that don't have forever chemicals in them, toxic species, things that create a problem for the next generation to get rid of. We're going to deal with it ourselves and not leave it for our kids. On the social side, we want inclusion, we want equality. At our South Carolina business, we have really good diversity in the building already. We're going to expand on that. And, for everybody to have good opportunities in our company, it's going to be based on qualifications. And we're going to keep ourselves diverse across that. So we are committed to it. And then in communities where we work and where our products go, we're going to invest in those, and we will start to embark on some more philanthropies there. And then corporate governance, transparency and into our integrity about doing the right thing and our compliance. So we have auditors in the room. We have a lot of chops here in auditing and that type of corporate governance. Really, the difference is we're going to be very open about it, and those that invest in the company will be able to see into that and see that we have integrity and we're sticking to the rules. So next, sorry. Just showcasing one product. We do have a bio-based product right now, so we like to talk about that. And our BioCool PCM is 94% bio-based content. That's best in class in the market, and it makes up about 70% of our PCM sales right now. So that's us kind of saying, hey, we're walking the walk, not just talking the talk. We are investing in that, and I see a bright future for renewable and natural products to go into bedding, and our chemistries have to follow suit. Next, please. So yeah, really our bread and butter. So in bedding, I'll give a quick overview of the market. Many of you know we had suffered some tough results second half of fiscal year 2022. It's the lowest consumer confidence in the bedding market. Some of the indexes are suggesting about 15-year low. And so you had first half of 2022, you had a really good, strong year, and then it cratered. Inflation and all the issues that you hear on the news, all the bad news that's out there. People stop buying mattresses, right? So we have some cautious optimism right now. We are seeing an uptick. We're not going to call it a recovery yet because you need to string several months together to see a recovery. It needs to be a strong trend. But we're seeing the blips there. The other thing is we're seeing a lot of the bedding people move to top of bed accessories, so pillows, mattress toppers, and accessories like that. So we've had a surge. Roisin suggested earlier that the October result was really good, and really that was bolstered by a lot of top of bed sales and a lot of PCM in that space. So and really the basics of that are people aren't going out and buying a $5,000 to $7,000 mattress as frequently right now, but they are buying accessories. And everybody's been locked up in their house, so they are getting out and shopping. Roisin visited recently, and we went to a couple of stores, but we went to Bed Bath & Beyond in Greenville, South Carolina, and it was so sparse in their shelves. And that really supports what we saw in the uptick that's coming right now. We saw first half of this calendar year, a lot of these bedding companies run their inventories down, and they depleted, and now they're starting to restock the inventories because they either restock it, have something to sell, or they go away, right? So now we're seeing, a natural, restocking, which is bolstering our sales, but too early to call it a recovery. And there's too much uncertainty right now. But I believe we're in a position to grow our sales either way. because we're going to saturate those markets and they have to continue selling to be viable. So we've steadily increased our PCM sales to the mattress group. Foam will be next. I'm very confident I can articulate it if we sit down that, cash positive results for Alexium come from just that. Our core products, our PCM technologies going into these mattresses on the foam and traditional textile spring side. And that's what's going to get us to, the next phase of the business where we start to pull through a lot more of the innovative products that really, spark significant growth. So the new products that will be coming, BioCool, you've heard about, we're growing those sales now. It's making up about 70% of our PCM mix. 30% is the traditional Alexium. Eclipsis is composite material that we're getting better at, and it's actually going into the bedding market and to the tactical markets for ballistics, vests, and military applications. And I'm going to talk about a new product, DelQ, today, and it's all about humidity management and comfort. It plays well in bedding and also active gear, tactical, athletics, helmets, shoes. So it'll be one of those innovations that we'll push through after we deliver success on bedding. Next, please. So, really at the core of Alexium and what we're going to leverage for short-term results. BioCool, it's 94% bio-based, which is really good. It's sustainable, affordable. Affordable means really it plays well at a price point. If you look at the bedding market, there's a lower end of the bedding market where our additives and enhancements in cooling and thermal and the extra cost for that don't play well. They're economy, less than $500 bed and box type things, right? A mattress by mail. That's not where we really play well. So there's no reason for us to chase that because it's just not, the pricing is cost prohibitive. So, we really reduce the market down to where we play well. So affordable means really, are we in a market where the price point affords what we offer? And this isn't a commodity. We offer a really unique special item. So you've got to put that into the right channels. It can be enhanced with additives, which is nice, which means if a customer needs a certain ratio or a certain aspect, we can tune it in our labs quite readily because it's a very simple component solution. It's easy to apply. And we apply it through all the traditional ways, so we'll belabor that. Lexicool is our workhorse. We're running right around 65 to 70% any given month, kind of pretty steady now, but about 70% in BioCool. 30% of the PCM sales coming from our traditional workhorse, Lexicool. Wash durable, long lasting, it's proven. We've got it out there. We can continue to sell more of it. The BioPreferred and USDA certification on this is helping pull it through because of a lot of pressures on these companies. But it's still a good old workhorse. It's hard at work here. So toxin-free, halogen-free. If you've read some of the manufacturing press, especially around flame retardants and some coatings in the U.S., things called PFAS, P-F-A-S, that's polyfluorinated materials. They're very toxic. They get into waterways. It can come from foam sprays, like from flame retardants, like fire departments, fighting fires that wash down into waterways. It can be in products that are like waterproof breathable materials for sports gear, like Vortex. It can be frying pan coatings, non-stick coatings. But those PFAS materials are now finding their way into waterways, and they've done even testing recently that shows it's showing up in people's bodies in like part per billion levels. So it's getting a lot of bad press. So we're halogen free. We stay away from that, and we're going to continue to differentiate that way. We're not, and those are called forever chemicals because they're with you forever. They don't degrade. They're very hard to destroy and process as a waste. You don't want to put them in a landfill because they'll get out into the water and air. So the best thing to do is to stop making them, stop using them. Our products don't have that problem, and we're going to continue to differentiate away from those, and that obviously underpins our ESG commitment, but it's also a generational thing to make sure we leave good products that will last. We're REACH compliant, so as we grow more and saturate the U.S. markets, we're going to jump over to other countries, and being REACH compliant pulls us into Europe. So we'll go after those next. I'll go back to the basics though here. We're gonna eat what's on our plate, like I said, before we go back for a second helping. So before we go chasing Europe, which is a difficult market, we gotta deliver the US market. But it's there and the door's open and we've got, you know, the right building blocks in place to do that when the time's right. And then Alexium, I'll speak to that in FR here in a little bit. We've had a nice breakthrough, and that's our flame retardant. So really our platforms are thermal, flame retardant, and now we're getting into humidity control, which plays well in bedding and athletic and tactical gear. Next, please. So tactical gear, Eclipsis is a composite material, and if we've got a video we're going to put out into some market announcements here in the coming week or two. And it's really an explainer video that talks about what Eclipsis does. One of the challenges we have at Alexium is to take all of this novel technology and intellectual property and get it into a message that a layperson, a mainstream, anyone can understand. And that's a challenge. It's hard to take so much innovation and distill it down to the buyer and how it benefits me and what does it do and does it work and will I try it and will I buy it. And we're really working hard right now to get that message skinny down so it's quick. We set the hook with the customer so they understand what it is. That pulls us into the technical piece, which is the second phase of development where we actually get in there, use our scientific methods, use all of our analytical to prove that it works, and then show them how to get it into their products. But we're making a big marketing push right now, and that's really my background, is to take something technical and commercialize it. So we're really working that out now. But we're excited to put out some marketing, media, and some product announcements over the coming weeks. So tune in on that, and we would welcome the feedback as well. We have our first large order for Eclipsis going into body armor. It's going into the States. We're going into the Department of Corrections, prison guards in the South in a hot environment. So it'll be a nice commercialization of that. It's not the windfall of sales that we need, but it is the proving ground that we need to go after the bigger space. But we are running multiple, we have fishing analogy, multiple lines are in the water right now. So we're working with a lot of tactical gear folks to do product development and to get Eclipsis into the tactical vest, the ballistics, and then from there we'll move into helmets and ultimately military shoes. So, and the other thing that's neat about Eclipsis is, you know, it's a composite plate, you know, material, and it can be a second chance sales for these people. So a lot of the tactical folks do the vest, warranty the vest, and they have kind of shelf life, and they'll turn them in and they'll clean them up, maybe sew them back up or add another plate to them. The other thing they can do is they can offer this thermal management as an adhering composite to those vests. It gives them a second chance sell on something they've already sold. That's a nice benefit to the customers that are out there, that, you know, because a vest lasts a long time. So if they can get another bite of the apple on sales for that vest, Eclipsis can give them that. And we're pushing the brand awareness across the market right now, as I said, in the marketing. This one actually is, in the bedding piece, we're more North American, you know, focused. This week, we're moving across a lot of continents in parallel, and really the US and Australia are our two biggest pushes first. Actually, in Brazil. Okay, next. So exciting new product here, and this is in the area of well, moisture management, dehumidification, and Dottie Bob and the technical team in South Carolina have developed a really nice product, and it's interesting because the folks in the bedding space, we started doing this test case, got wildly excited about this and started pulling us along. And one of the things we've learned with Eclipsis is make sure we're ready to deliver it before we get out into those channels, because you don't want to have any issues with the product. You want to make sure we can manufacture it, we can supply it quickly, and we can meet their timelines. So we're taking all the learnings from Eclipsis and applying them to Del-Q. So we're taking a very measured approach to it. Del-Q's claim is what's so powerful. A lot of technical jargon here, folks, but what this really means is 9 degrees cooling over the duration of a night's sleep. So this is for the mattress piece. That is an unheard of claim in the bedding space. And that's why they go so nuts when they hear it. And then we show it to them and we give them the analysis on it and all the testing and supports it. So they're looking to pull it along. Another thing, also with Eclipsis and DelQ, is it moves right into the strategy I told you early on, going away from selling just chemistry to selling materials. Eclipsis is a composite material, so is DelQ. If you think of it, it's almost like if you think of a sandwich with two pieces of bread, the magic's in between the two pieces of bread, and then there's performance fabrics on the outside that you can change the fabrics for all sorts of applications. But the humidity control, it absorbs the humidity, is in the layer in the middle. So we're in development right now and about to commercialize in the beginning of the calendar year. We're selling rolled goods with the chemistry on it. So something to know here is if you sell the chemistry to someone that's applying it to rolled goods and something goes sideways with it or you have a quality issue, you have the risk on the whole rolled good. So we already have a risk profile that we're comfortable with in managing under quality control and launching products. Now we're going to actually take the rest of the sale and take a couple links out of the supply chain. And so we would sell a lot of times to tier 2, tier 3 in this layer cake of suppliers that supply these ultimate retailers. And we're going to take a couple links out of those supply chains. And to do that, we sell the material. We'll sell rolled goods, and in some cases, leveraging all the textile cut and sew in the Southeast, we'll even give them a case or an even more finished product. And that allows us to grab more revenue, more volume, take links out of the supply chain, speeds up the sale, gets us closer to the ultimate customer. And you have the same risk profile either way. So, because the chemistry is really, we have to guarantee that, right? So that's one of the things you'll see change here. A lot of benefits to that. DelQ, so you'll hear more about that in the coming quarters, but applicable markets are military, first responders, tactical gear, sports apparel. Think about it. A thermal management that manages humidity and sweat on the body of someone. Think football players, cricket players, all these sports that are hot and they're wearing armor. Plays well there, just like it does in the tactical piece for the Army. Bedding is where we're starting. Again, that's our concentrated market. So we'll start introducing this in. It also plays well as a platform. So Eclipsis dissipates heat, moves heat away from the user. DelQ manages humidity, resulting in dry, cool comfort. And then we apply our PCM, which is that cooling touch, that really gets the buyer in. So when you pair the three of these together in this triangle, very powerful platform, especially in bedding. Then ultimately we'll move into more complex markets like helmets and shoes. I say complex because think of it, a helmet is not like a mattress with a flat sheet on it, right? You put a textile with a treatment on it, it's just one flat sheet. Helmet has intricacies and shapes. We've added some new production partners in the States that have advanced cutting that are able to cut these templates and do the nesting so we can start moving into shoes and helmets that have more intricate designs and ways of getting those in the market. Next, please. So FR Nyco flame retardant nylon cotton. Alexium's done a lot of work in the past on FR Nyco and getting these products into the market. Just in the last month, we've had a breakthrough. We've delivered out of our labs and our product development a fabric that's lighter, stronger, it meets all the FR criteria, finally. The U.S. Army has it under review right now. Upon receiving the samples, we got the call. They want more. They want more to test. I don't want anybody to run to the bank yet, though, because it's a long process with the military, right? So it'll take, really the rest of this year and most of next year to get through all their approvals. So it would be a 2024 calendar year revenue that we would see. So it's a little further out on the horizon. The good news is we're not going to have to put any resources in the meantime other than maintaining that relationship and staying in step with the approval process. The work's already been done. Now it's time to get through that and get it into the sales channel by 2024. So it's Alexium applied to a proprietary nylon and cotton blend. Self-extinguishes, no melting or dripping like nylons can do if they get overheated. And that's a problem. You have a fabric melt on a warfighter or a firefighter, anybody that uses it. Wash durable. The burnt fabric forms a strong char, meaning it stays together. Strength. It's lightweight. Meets ASTM and other quality and tear strength's good. And ultimately good comfort for the military personnel because they will be doing user testing, so it's got to be lighter, and they're not going to put something on this board either. They can't raise their arms over their head if they wear it. So, and that can happen in some of these fabrics. Surprise. This is an old issue for the U.S. military, especially. They've been fighting over uniforms and between the different branches of the military and what kind of uniforms they're going to do, and it's surprising the gap hasn't been closed. But we now have a viable product under review. And we'll keep reporting on the progress. Next, please. So lots of words. I won't read all of this, but key achievements. Really in this bar here, this is the 2018 to 2022, and a lot of the work that happened over the last 4 years culminated in where we are now, where we can turn the corner and start to commercialize and grow this company. But in that window, without reading all that, Dr. Bob and the team delivered viable products, all right, that worked. So now we have something to sell, and we can grow on that platform. So where we are now, rinse and repeat here, but continued revenue growth through the saturation of the bedding markets, textiles, screen-based mattresses, and foam. Foam is a big growth for the bedding market for us. To get our established products into that foam will get us to cash positive. It's really that simple. Then we'll diversify through commercializing the other products you heard about today, closest to Del Q being two of the primary ones. Me coming on, it spreads the effort in the company, especially in the management, so that I can focus on the driving commercial growth and general management. And Dr. Bob can focus on innovating and getting us to the next tier of growth. We are working to shore up our supply chain to ensure resiliency. We've got some contract manufacturers that we're qualifying for right now. There is capacity in the States for us to continue to run that asset-light model of using others' freeboard capacity. I think there will be a point in the evolution of Alexium, though, where we will reverse integrate and bring that production in-house because it will make sense. When you reach a certain level of volume, you want to control the quality and the cost of it, have it right under your direct management. So, that'll be an evolution with the growth of the company. For that in 2023, that delivers cash positive, which is the goal. Being cash positive funds future growth, be self-funding, right? Be profitable, be valuable, and continue to grow the company. And then the next 3 to 4 years, we want to deliver meaningful returns for everyone here. So we're capitalized on the globally unique and patented product range. We've got some patents pending over that time period that'll be granted. We'll expand the product application range into much bigger, broader markets. So outdoor gear and apparel, shoes, there's automotive applications, electronics. Think of temperature control on batteries and electronics and how big that space is. And we cut our teeth in bedding and now technical gear, and we prove concept. We get good at making it. We get good at pushing it out in these channels. Then you get into some much bigger waters, and electronics is one of those. And so think of the market shifting to EV and electronic-based products, cars, automotive, computers, cell phones, thermal management, the ability to put products into that could be one of the big growth vehicles for this company. And we'll set to prove that. We'll commercialize our key product platforms into different markets and different continents, so we'll go international from there. We'll realize the benefits of that scale. That gets you to the national piece where you can do it at home. You should be able to take it, especially our products. The price of our products travels well. Cheap commodities, they have to be close to the plant that makes them, right, to be able to absorb the freight. Most of our products at the price point where we are, they could circle the globe. We have some customers in the bedding market. The supply chain goes to China and back, and the freight's astronomical, but it shows that they can absorb that cost in that, so it travels well. And then we'll deliver material growth in earnings and cash flow, ultimately share price. And that is the goal, is to deliver shareholder value. Next, please. So in summation, key milestones, we're going to build on the foundation. So just driving home what I've said here today, we're going to leverage our position in thermal management. We're going to saturate bedding markets and the top of bed markets to go together. We'll penetrate those markets using BioCool. And that'll support our ESG goals. Also aligns well with the pressure on the markets to do more sustainable manufacturing. We're going to increase Eclipse's applications in tactical gear and the bedding markets. We'll launch the new dehumidification Del-Q product into also tactical gear, then move that towards athletic markets. And then ultimately we'll finalize our FR with NICO and get the approvals to go commercial with the military. But if I bring it back to really the charter short term, it's deliver value and cash positive results on the investment that's already been had at Alexium. So now it's time to sell what we've made, and that's what's going to get us there short term. So when I'm here speaking to you next year, you know, the accountability and the results should be, did we do that? That's what we're setting out to do over the next 12 months. So with that, thank you all for coming. I think we're going to open it up for
We're going to get Jason,
okay.
and then more. No. Yeah, you don't do that.
Morning, everyone. I'm just going to do some highlights from our fiscal 22. Revenue last year was 8.2 million, which is a 12% increase year over year. With that, we had a strong H1, but H2 was weakened quite dramatically due to consumer confidence in the U.S. in particular. And so what we've seen is that our customers flatline their purchases. And we've seen that also back during the beginning of the pandemic. And it takes, at that time, if you use it as a reference, it took about 6 to 8 months for them to come back out of it as they drew down their inventories. Once the stocks got down, then they started to replenish. We had strong customer retention. Didn't lose any customers during the period. And we were able to grow gross profit 26% to 3.3 million. And with that, we had gross margins of over 40% or 400 basis points increase. That came from a number of different places. We had better manufacturing costs due to economies of scale of sort, because we were able to make bigger batches of product along the way as we were able to scale up. Along with, even though the chemical industry as a whole saw dramatic increases in their costs, our costs did not grow in the same manner, and it was near the same manner as you would hear. We did go through some force majeures, but we were able to work ourselves out of those due to relationships that we have with these long-term suppliers. We also, with the introduction of the BioCool line, this is a new product which affords a better margin along the way. Our operating expenses remain flat year over year. We're not going to save ourselves out of a cost, grow at a cost savings, but we are very diligent in maintaining our cost and finding every spot we can to along the way. So the end result is an EBITDA that is still negative, but went from a 1.8 million loss to 1.2. So in a tough H2, we were still able to better ourselves year over year. The other part I'd like to point out is impairment. We had to impair our Alexium / FR NICO assets we had on our books. And that was mainly to do with it was hard for us to substantiate the cash flows to discount them back due to the uncertainty with where we're at with FR and NICO. As we get more information and contracts along the way, with IFRS rules, we should be able to put some of that back on as an asset, depending on the situation. But I want to point that out because that was a $1.1 million non-EBITDA impact. Okay, John. On our balance sheet, cash went down $1.9 million, so there's no there wasn't any extraordinary items within that it was normal course of business. Uh, Activities, our investments are really in IP, and this is a very CapEx-like company. We spend less than $100,000 a year on CapEx. Net working capital, it went up, and that's mostly to do with the combination of AR inventory and AP. At the end of the last fiscal year, we had high AP, which reduced net working capital. This year, we didn't have as much AP, but we had a little bit higher inventories. And those inventories were higher as we were buying through the first part of the year in order to be available for growth in the second part. So there's quality of inventory is there, it just is not slowly coming back down where it needs to be from an inventory turn standpoint. And I'd like to talk about the line of credit we put into place, because this is an important part of our current cash flow process. So we signed up a $3 million capacity 3-year line of credit. Some would say that it's like a factoring, but it's not a factoring, it's an asset-based loan. And if the assets are accounts receivable at 90%, inventory at approximately half of that, and at any given time, it ebbs and flows. So although it's a $3 million capacity, today we have approximately, if we were to look at it today, it'd be approximately 1.8 million available and eligible. This is what we would say. So as sales come up, our cash availability to self-fund ourselves also goes up. That $3 million can go to $5 million with approval on alternative side. And so far in the 6 months that we've been actively working with them and drawing on that, we have very good quality of accounts receivable, and that's very important. So our customers do pay us, and we have not had any back debt, and that all ties into eligibility. And that's pretty much what I have to talk about. Okay.
So I'm going to, if you don't mind, I'll leave Billy and Jason there, and we can direct questions to them. So I said that the first question I was going to ask Billy was, coming in, working with Bob and Jason, what's that experience been like?
We'll start with Dr. Bob. That's probably the obvious question to everyone. He's been nothing short of a gentleman and a class act. It could be really tough, the situation with me coming in and him changing the nature of his role. And oftentimes, very smart people, successful people have big egos. Bob's been wonderful. He's made me feel welcome. He's got me up to speed and onboarded me into the business very quickly. We're becoming fast friends. I don't say that lightly. He's been just wonderful, very, very good support. And we're really finding our groove in the day-to-day at the business. Jason, I'll give a different analogy for him. He's, even this week, I can give recent examples. He's been parenting me, guiding me along, putting out guardrails, and basically getting me indoctrinated into everything Alexium. Jason and I are also setting out to do a lot of process work for Alexium to bring in organizational discipline. I'm really pleased that he has that background from his days at Arkema and prior to that, so that we, as we grow up the company and get good operation, he can help me on that journey. So I've got a really good creative partner and a really good discipline partner to drive Alexium forward. So I have nothing derogatory to say. It's been great.
So now I'm going to put Bob on the spot, and actually, Johnny, I'm like, can you take down the presentation? So Bob, I'm going to ask you for your thoughts on how it's gone through the transition.
You prepared Billy, you didn't prepare me.
No.
Okay. No,
No,
it's actually, the transition's gone very well. I think one thing that really helped that the board did well, and including me in the process of meeting Billy, and I saw from day one the value add that he brought, and he's really just expanded the skill set of the management team, and has come in with such a great attitude, and has has really brought in good ideas about how you get that right balance of accountability, culture, and business acumen to drive this in the right direction. And to be honest with you, he's extremely easy to work with. It's the level of him being a complement to what Jason and I do. It's just extraordinary, and I think we're very fortunate to have him on board. And it's a it's been a needed addition to the team. So just really glad to have him on board. And like I said, we've all we occasionally have people ask questions like this, expecting that we might be looking like MTV, The Real World. It's not. It's just all three of us are focused on driving Alexium to success. And when you've got good people with positive attitude focused on the same goals, life really is easy. So.
Thanks, Bob. All right, why don't I open it up to questions from the floor? Andy.
So how do we stop having false starts? I think, especially Jason's doing a great job of fiscal management, so we're not burning a lot of cash. We seem to be giving big companies free options in our technology, so ICL comes to mind. For years we thought somebody might come, but it doesn't. So, in my mind, if you're running two, you can be running ICL if you're on, and create some competitive tension, if anything. So I think sort of costs that go into, something like hybrid and things like that, and then it doesn't amount, and we've had to go on board as shareholders, for the year, kind of, start to feel like a false promise, and I've got no doubt about the technology that we've got. It's just how we get some, I think we're only one decent deal away from becoming very viable. Obviously, military is the one that's probably the most significant, but as you said, that's a 2024 story. But yes, how do we kind of not take these long roads, I suppose, and eventuate.
In the States, you call it being used and abused, right?
Global.
Yeah, right. So, how do we prevent from getting left at the altar after putting so much energy and resources into development? Well, first of all, I think you saw it in my presentation. We're going to drive contracts, so we want to open with terms with folks. And as we put more resources to implementation and product development, we need to secure their commitment before we do that. So that also comes in the form of terms. Carl's actually, one of our directors, is working with me, and we're setting out a new contract process and procedure policy where we open with our terms, and basically they're not going to get it for free. So whether we start charging folks for the development work we do with them, or that comes in the form of covenants over sales volumes and pricing, that's what we're going to have to do as a company to not give it away, right? The other part is being disciplined about what we work on. We really right now need to sell what we've already invented. So, the days of kind of, hoping and wishing and kind of throwing things out there and seeing if they'll stick, now we know they work. So we got to go sell those that work and push them in. So we know what we're in for when we go into these customers going forward. And that's really, on me, that's my accountability. One of the things I didn't talk about in the presentation is we offboarded a layer of sales executive management when I came on board 3 days in, actually. I now manage the commercial team and the sales team directly. That got me in front of the customers so I can get to know them better, I can get to know my products better, I can get direct feedback, learn the business faster, and I can learn our team and make sure I'm putting the right horses on the right courses. But the bottom line is, we've had some, we call them failures to launch in the past where people left us in the late hours of development. And it's on me to shore it up. But I believe terms in getting people to sign something that commits their organization to it. And the other piece is when a CEO is selling to other executives in those companies, it's going to create another layer of top-down accountability in those businesses. You sell to the quality department or the product development department, and those people don't have any decision authority, and then ultimately you get dropped on your head at the end. You should, that's shame on us, right? So, we're going to move away from that, Nick, into a different approach. But again, we're going to put it in writing when they commit to us.
So we're in innovative companies, so we're looking at partnering. You imagine ICL is an incumbent player, probably some level of complacency. And do we want to partner with innovative companies? So we're looking at, say, a sports shoe manufacturer. There's all the challenging brands out there. is it being just the part as well?
So I think you're saying, do you sell to the fast and nimble ones that can move, or do you sell to the big, high volume establishments, right?
Well, that was a big established player, yeah.
Yeah, well, we have to have some game changer technology to close the big ones. We can't just come with something you run the mill and expect them to adopt. So right now we do have a few game changers in our queue, so I think we do go after the big boys, but that's going to take terms, like I said. The smaller ones that move fast and are innovative, great proving grounds for us, and I think we do continue that work, but they don't get us where we want to go. So within our established PCMs too, I think our PCMs, if we step back from the branding piece and trying to have Alexium brand and everything, we want to sell our PCM and our thermal management to the whole market, anywhere to play. So, but it's a two-pronged approach. I think we work with it. Very akin to what I talked about with the military. We're working that public piece, which is mandatory because they have to control the public tax dollars that are spent there. But we're also working the private piece at the same time, so we sandwich together the opportunity to get better conversion of sales. Because that's really how that happens. Is so if they put a bid out there and there weren't any private sector guys that can answer it, we'd be dead in the water. But if there's private guys out there that are selling against regulation or public rules, and there's no vehicle for that, you're dead in the water. You got to do both and marry them together.
With that military, I think that we just got with this new performance measures. Is there anything close in competition?
Nick, I'd be speculating to answer that. I don't understand the full market yet, so that's another commitment I have to you guys. If I don't know the answer, I'm not going to make one up. Right now, what we're hearing, this is conjecture, is no. But I'll set out to prove that. Yeah, I don't know the answer for sure. And if I don't believe it wholeheartedly, I'm not going to tell you that.
So just one other thing which has changed as big blue sky opportunities that fell over so many times. Everyone here knows them. Is they're now taking direct route. They're not going by third party people anymore and hoping that their third party is saying what we hope they're saying. They're talking to the military. And so they're talking to three big private suppliers, but they're talking to the military people themselves, not via that name we all know, to the military. This time around, he's got the military talking to him, and he's talking to the private suppliers of the military.
Right.
There's more chance of success this time.
Nick, you raised some good points too, and I failed to mention it in my presentation, so forgive me. We'll circle back to it, but three technologies, DevQ, Eclipsis, and now the FR9 code, the difference that you're seeing now in Alexium, and this isn't me, I didn't bring lightning in the bottle, it was me to drive it home, right? That's why I'm here. But we have alpha customers in commercialization right now, all three platforms. So we actually are going through implementation right now. So it's going from idea to concept, kind of this ethereal thing. So it's actually being put into those channels. I just really wanted my message today to make sure you guys knew though that we're going to be very focused on the fundamentals that are going to get us to the short-term cash positive position. That's job one. Job two is to diversify the business so it can be sustained, right? And so we continue to grow and have value. And then job three is the innovation that's going on in the background that really bigs up Alexium and gets us to that, that blue sky that we all want to see. So we got to have some organizational disciplines around how we get there. Good questions, thank you.
If there are no other questions, then
Just on the military in particular, you mentioned that if we are successful in having the military utilise our cash flow sales may happen in 2024, but I would imagine an agreement would be committed earlier than that. Right? So I would have thought that that commitment would drive the share price far quicker than would actual sales happening in 2024. So can we be assured that Alexium would promote that in the marketplace, promote the credibility side of it in Alexium gain contract with the military.
So Ian, yeah, good point, and the short answer is yes, and it's all about timing and being on sure footing when you do that, right? Because you don't want to have a false start and crater people's confidence. And Alexium can't afford any more false starts. We've all heard the fable, the boy that cried wolf. Wolf, 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 and when the wolf finally came, nobody came to help, right? We can't cry wolf. So that has to be solid footing. So that means the primary suppliers of those uniforms have to be signed up with terms and proven so that when it gets spec'd in and that offering comes out for those uniforms, that we have solid terms. We're not going to write a contract with the Army. We're going to write a contract with the private producer that's going to put the actual uniform together. So those are the pillars that have to happen. And when that happens, as it happens over the coming year to 2 year window, yes, be announced.
So, I mean, I've been a shareholder since 1995. No, anyway, about 8 years. And not many people have heard in Australia have heard of Alexium. So I'd be looking for Alexium when it has some success to really promote it in the marketplace.
We've gotten that feedback from some others, Ian, and that's something we're committed to is getting our successes communicated out to the market. We met with one of the groups that does just that yesterday, and they were interviewing me, talking about where we are. We set some markers out there on when we're going to announce. So we're committed to that, and you'll see it coming. But yeah, for sure, but it's got to be on solid footing. We don't want to put anything out there that could not come to fruition. We need that accuracy. But sure thing.
Thanks.
So you're looking to use an IR firm or somebody that's on the ground here in Australia. I imagine that a large proportion of the share register is still on something here, is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, so.
Well aware of all the pitfalls of the past and personalities and so on and so forth. One of the great challenges of getting a share price moving is not just performance.
No.
That's the old school way of looking at it, but it's also about getting it out there. One of the challenges, as I mentioned to you, Billy, was that you're an American company, it's listed here in Australia.
Yeah.
And there's been precious little in the way of investor relations activity here in Australia. You can say, I would never come away from an AGM and feel disappointed, disillusioned. I always had that sense of optimism. But that hasn't been getting into I understand the reasons over the last few years affected this marketplace. So I'd encourage you to spend a bit more time on that activity. There are quite a number of people around the traps who have heard of Alexium for the wrong reasons.
Yes.
And we need to change that.
Yep.
If you wish to share those.
Yep. Absolutely.
Committed to it. Absolutely.
Great. Anything else? All right, well with that, I'll call it to a close. Please feel free to stay around and get a coffee or a tea and chat to the team. I really do appreciate the fact that you've actually come and join us today. It's great to see you all again. And I want to thank Bob, Paul and Stephen, and we'll let you go. Have a good evening, and thanks everyone.
Thank you.